Today, we are having a deep dive into a more recent song that the Korean peninsula has brought forth. In this video, we are taking a closer look at IVE's Rebel Heart. The song was initially released as a digital single on January 13th under their company Starship Entertainment. It eventually was then part of the Empathy EP as its first track, which was released the following month. The song can be best described as energetic and positive, as most of the piece's chords and harmonies are in major. It conveys a message of individuality, self-empowerment, and the struggle against societal expectations. Even in the video, the girls spend most of the time in solitude going through their own hardships and are only seen together at the carnival and at the very end. Enough trivia, let's move to the song. The song is written in the key of G major and hence has a pretty easy scale. The tempo is relatively fast and comes down to 128 beats per minute. Before starting with the music, let's take a look at the structure, disregarding intro, outro, and breaks. The song mostly follows the common pop sequence of a verse followed by the chorus, continuing with another verse, but inserts a short interlude before moving to the second chorus, replacing the third verse with a bridge and finishing in a final chorus. But this time, there are some interesting details. First of all, there are relatively many one-measure breaks that help delineate the chorus from the verses, which helps listeners understand better and build tension for what is to come. You might wonder why the depiction of the three pre-chorus changes. Well, in this song, the pre-chorus eventually promotes to the main chorus, but more in that regard later. Starting with the song, there is not too much going on in the intro. It's just 2 bars of G major guitar, a little vocal introduction with the title of the track, and an EQ lift or riser into the first verse. One thing I want you to notice is the guitar having a triple feel, so on every quarter note it feels like 3 tones are coming after one another. I hope you could understand what I mean by triplet pattern or triple feel. Moving on to the first verse, we enter into a vocal part that has many triplets again and a unique rhythmic feel. Every here and then there is a little layering inserted. Regarding the instruments, the drum has a steady beat of quarter kicks, and after 8 measures, we get what sounds like a clap on the off beats. The guitar continues with the triplet pattern, but now plays a note from the chord progression. Then in the 4th measure of the verse, there is a quick vocal or choir MIDI in between 2 parts. The progression is pretty simple. It follows G major for 4 measures. Then we have 1 bar of E minor, C major, G major, and D major repeated once more. E minor is the only minor chord used in the whole song. Now we are at the first pre-chorus. Most notably, there is an interesting call and response plot going on between the vocal and instrumental. The drums and guitar give a question and the vocal practically screams the answer. That makes it so that most of the vocal is sung a cappella except the last phrase with "Never Be Me." The chords move up and down. We start with C major to D major to G major, which each take a whole measure. Then in double time, we move down through E minor and D major. The interesting thing is that we only move down for the first time. In the repetition, the song leaves out the last 2 chords.
So you can love me, hate me, you will never be, never be, never be me.
Now with the first main chorus, we reach the local climax of the song. First, the bass, the distorted electric guitar, and the drums mostly continue as is. Besides the kick and clap, there seems to be a relatively quiet hi-hat in the background. The chords move up and down in the pattern that I put on the screen. But there is one new thing. Besides obvious changes in melody, there seems to be a different guitar, string MIDI, or something similar in the background playing a few notes. I will add it onto the track so you can identify it better. Then at the end, we have a little break using a heavily EQ kick and the guitar to transition into the next verse.
Never be, never be, never be me. We are rebels in our hearts, rebels in our hearts. We are rebels in our hearts. We are rebels in our hearts. Don't get me. We are rebels in our hearts.
The next part is a rap part. There is not too much going on, but I went through the struggle of transcribing it, so I thought it would just have you listen with the notes on the screen.
너는 어디가 조금 부족해 너는 거기가 뭔가 좀 넘쳐 I don't care 모든 말은 참 쉽지 그래 실행이 어려운 거야 Do it, move it, do it 우린 그냥 할게.
Now we have something more interesting. I told you before that it feels like the pre-chorus is slowly being promoted to the main chorus. Well, now we have an interlude that builds up the tension instead of the pre-chorus. First, the simple stuff. The drums only do a quarter kick pattern, and the bass helps out with chord tones. The guitar is on break for some time and only re-enters in the last measure before moving to the next section. One interesting thing is that there is a really sneaky choir on top of the track that gives the section a distinct and, in my opinion, somewhat divine feel. We have some interesting chords as well. We have a progression of C major into B major followed by E minor, which then resolves to A major. This is interesting because two of these chords are diatonic. When taking a look at the notes within the key, we notice that B and A are naturally minor chords in our key. But as you can see, the writers changed the middle notes to change them into their major versions.
외로움이 너무 길어지는다면 그 맘을 쏘아 올려.
Now I will play you the instrumental of both the first pre-chorus and the second one. I am sure then you will understand what I mean by the pre-chorus being promoted. We reach the bridge. It is pretty long and in my opinion split into two parts. The first one adds new parts to the drum kit by introducing a snare and toms, which gives this part a march-like feel. The bass now becomes really thick and has this cool downward motion, but still keeps the triple feel going. Then we have the second half, which is a thematic cut from the first one. Here, the drums and bass totally pause for 4 measures, before re-entering later to prepare the finale. Instead, we have a piano playing the chords in a high register, being the sole support for the vocal. Then, later we get a warm synth sound as well.
대체로 이유를 묻지 않고 서로가 필요할 때가 있어 그런 마음이 어떤 건지 잘 알기에 영원을 바라는 사이보단 지금을 이해해주고 싶어 We will always be together.
Now we reach the finale. Here, the pre-chorus is fully promoted to the main chorus. Often the final chorus is introduced with a belt, but here technically the pre receives this treatment. The previous bridge took over the whole task of preparing tension to then erupt, hence the climax is longer and more satisfying. Beside the belt, the entry into the chorus is a little different with new lyrics and a melody we haven't heard before. The latter half remains mostly as in the previous choruses, but actually 4 measures of it are transformed into an outro, where we hear all the usual lyrics, but the instrumental slowly comes to an end.
We will always be together. Come join us who you are. We are rebels, we are one. 이름만으로 We are rebels, we are one. We are rebels in our heart, 꺾이지 않아. We are rebels in our heart.
This concludes our deep dive into IVE's Rebel Heart. If you liked the video, feel free to share it with friends. I want to invite you to tag along as we break down many more cool songs. Next week we will go over aespa's Armageddon.